because this issue is not going to go away. If we don't pass it today, there'll be other bills, there'll be other marches, there's other concerns. We will not be able to put this issue to rest unless we deal with it in a meaningful manner. The people do have the right to know. We're asking for very basic, simple things here: disclosure, buffer zones, and a comprehensive study. It seems so simple. Just give us good information, stop spraying next to schools, and let us study the issue to determine the safety of our community. But all we've gotten was no, no, no. The quest for information, we're fighting for the truth. We've been unable to get the truth. And this bill, if passed today, would resolve that. I've learned a lot over this past 4 months. I had no idea when the bill was first introduced that these mothers and fathers and doctors would come out. I don't know these people. I knew there was an issue, I knew there was a problem, but I had no idea of the depth of the problem until this bill was introduced. And I don't know how anyone could not support these simple disclosures of buffer zones, knowing what we know today. When the doctors from KVMH put into writing that there was a 10% in their mind, 10% higher incidence of congenital heart defects, that was enough for me. And now to hear these folks come forward, it is just overwhelming. The doctors have stepped up. We've had over 50 doctors have testified in support of this. Teachers, the Hawaii State Teachers Association, West Side, the 150 people suing, the nurses, hotel workers. There was just so many people that have stepped forward for this bill. Even Dr. Ball and Dr. Pang, in their personal capacity, the district health officers for Kauai and Maui, have testified in support on their own behalf. Still, we get a no, 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 and we get threatened with lawsuits. The companies threaten us to sue us for the right to poison next to schools. Yet we had over 9 attorneys step forward. A former Hawaii Supreme Court justice, now retired, said this bill is solid. Earth Justice, Center for Food Safety, Terry Tico, who testified earlier, the former president or chair of the Kauai Bar Association, Harold Braunstein, a well-known local attorney, Alan Murakami, testifying on his own behalf, but he's with the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation, Denise Antolini of the University of Hawaii Law School, Alif Beal, and many, many others all say we have the right to protect the health and life of our community. All sides of the lawyers say that no law, no statute, and no court decision prohibits us from stepping up to defend our community. No law, no statute, and no court decision prohibits us from doing this. That's clear. Lawyers on both sides have said that. Okay. 4 lawyers have stepped up. 2, Teresa Tico and Peter Shea, have said, we will defend the county for free, for nothing. We will defend the county. We will take it all the way. 2 other law firms, the Center for Food Safety, Earth Justice, have said, we will also defend community groups of this bill. It will cost the county nothing. Nothing. Okay, we have 9 months before it takes effect. We can settle our court issues during this 9 months, or we can amend the bill if possibly needed. There is no legal concerns, there's no legal fear, there's no legal cost. And now, voila, today we get a press release from the state. The governor, the Department of Agriculture insults us, okay? They insult me, they insult this council, they insult our community. They think we're fools. It's ridiculous to think they're going to come up here on the last day and save us with a volunteer compliance. It does nothing. Did they bother to meet with us? No. Did they bother to meet with the doctors at KVMH? No. Did they bother to meet with our community? No. They met in Honolulu with the agricultural chemical companies. They cut a deal for voluntary compliance. It means nothing. Okay? We need to take action here. The state is not going to do this. Okay? It's insulting. This bill is about protecting the health of our community. It's basic. Disclosure. We've covered our legal bases. We've done this prudently and responsibly. Okay, we've covered our legal basis. We have free legal counsel. We've studied it. This council is a legislative body. We pass the laws. The mayor does not pass laws. The mayor is the administrator. The county attorney does not pass laws. Okay, the county's opinion does not pass laws. We pass the laws. We voted 6-1 to pass this law. It's our responsibility. It's not the county attorneys. It's not the mayor's. Okay, it's our responsibility to listen to our community. We've done that prudently and responsibly. 6 of us have already voted. Many of us have voted twice for it. We've done our homework. We've covered our legal bases. And this issue is not going to go away. It's not going to go away until we deal with it prudently and meaningfully and responsibly. You need to vote for an override of the mayor's veto. The people trust that we will do the right thing. We will do the right thing today. Let's not disappoint them. Let's fulfill that trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bynum, did you want to speak next?
I can.
Okay.
I didn't set my clock. Please give me a 1-minute warning. I want to start by thanking our community. This community never ceases to amaze me. The outpouring of manao from everybody in this community is so inspiring. Our testimony we received in emails is public record. And it's unlike any other testimony I've ever received. It's like people, usually you get vote this way, do that, do this, right? You get people just pouring out their heart and soul. It's so moving. I encourage you all to read it. Thank you, people of Kauai, for continuing to amaze me. I want to say that we have a good mayor, a man that I respect and I support. People that don't know this, we were on the team together. We both worked for Mayor Baptiste. Mayor Baptiste sadly passed away. Bernard became mayor sooner than he expected. He was being groomed for it. We all know that, right? And he stepped up, and during really trying times. And overall, I think he's been a really good mayor. He's a much better mayor today than he was when he stepped up. He's grown into the position. I haven't been shy about disagreeing with him, and we've had major disagreements primarily about financing during the downswing. But he's a good mayor. He's probably going to be there for the next 6 years, and he's going to do a really bang-up job of implementing this bill. He came here to the council, and he said it was his responsibility, and when it was his kuleana, he'll take it, and I believe he will. Now, having said all of that, I'm obviously disappointed in the mayor's decision to veto this bill. I think it was extraordinarily misguided. I know it to be misinformed, and I'm very sad that people that I respect have so misguided our mayor, and he made a big mistake. But he's sincere. Nobody should think that he's bought and sold by anyone or anybody in this room. I have deep respect for everyone at this table who put their heart and soul into this as well. The release of the opinion was appalling and unprecedented and misunderstood. Okay? Unprecedented in that we are the legislative body, and by tradition, we make these decisions. And the mayors don't second guess them. We chose to have a CEO type of mayor. Other forms of government we wouldn't even have. This couldn't happen because the legislative body there wasn't a CEO mayor. I'm fine with there being a CEO mayor, but with that comes responsibilities, including fiduciary responsibilities to all of you that have been breached. Now, I don't believe that that was on purpose. I think it was misguided and misinformed. I want to tell you about SB 727. I want to tell you about how we've been in a battle with the seed companies for several years, and the mayor's been fighting it with us. Last year, it got outrageous with 2 bills, SB 727 and SB 590. I have a handout that I'm providing to council members and all of you. This is SB 727. The law has said since statehood, each county shall have the power to enact ordinances deemed necessary to protect health, life, property, and to preserve, the order and security of the county. Last year, the seed company tried to put through a bill that took the words protect health and life out of the Hawaii state law. Okay? They wanted it to just say each county shall have the power to enact ordinances deemed necessary to protect property or preserve order. They took health and life out of it. Well, guess what? Our mayor testified against that bill. I testified against that bill. Gary Hooser testified against that bill. A number of us did. Here's some of the testimonies. Our mayor said, I'm opposed to this because you're going to take away our authority to protect health and safety, and we don't want to give that up. It's our responsibility. I have 5 minutes left. Our county attorney, Amy Asaki, wrote and said, don't take this authority away from us. Now the same mayor and county attorney are saying now, we never had the authority. Okay? Read this testimony. I want to read just, there's hundreds of people. These are just a few from Kauai and the other neighbor island counties, those pesky council members who keep trying to protect the health and safety of their citizens. Read the testimony from the Hawaii Crop Improvement Association, who told me that this bill didn't affect the counties. Okay? Here's just one that I included at the end. So the county, this is a person, I don't know. So the county's long-established duty to protect life and health is now seemed unnecessary. But property still needs protection. I don't understand this bill. Who does it serve? Not me. I imagine it could only serve someone or some person whose activities might prove hazardous to health and who wouldn't want to be bothered by my protector protecting me from that. Okay, they tried to take health and safety out of our laws. We have the authority. They tried to take it away from us for 4 years. Please read this history. The mayor was on the right page. Okay. There's a disconnect in this whole debate. When people suffer loss, they go through denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and they arrive at acceptance. Okay? We've all seen a lot of denial, anger, bargaining. Let's do voluntary things. Depression, and we need to move as a community to acceptance. There's a disconnect. So I want to say this clearly. We have discovered in this process that the seed companies, at least one of them, were spraying an appalling frequency of over 200 times a year on one field, at appalling quantities of over 8 pounds. We just saw international news about Argentina and what happened to them. And the news was, an appalling 4 pounds per acre is being sprayed in Argentina, when it's only 1 pound per acre in the United States. And all the health problems that are happening in Argentina, right? They're spraying over 8 pounds on our island. Okay? We can't be in denial about these things. Okay? Kama'aina food producers, our neighbors and friends, have lost their land leases, have lost their businesses and their investments to the seed companies. And you all are paying to subsidize that with your taxes. Okay? We heard Dr. Berg come here and tell us, and Gary Gill, the head of the health department, say, we can trust Dr. Berg, because I was there with him, that there are unacceptable levels of atrazine in 7 of our streams right now today. That's not me, that's Dr. Berg. That's, I asked Gary Gill, can we trust that? Yeah. Okay. We listen to medical scientists come up here and tell us about
1 minute.
Facts that this level of spraying in communities causes increased instances of all kinds of problems. And we heard anecdotal, they dismiss these health concerns as anecdotal, right? But we're listening more to crop scientists from Dow and Syngenta than we are medical scientists from pediatrics in our community. There's a disconnect. Now, a lot of people in this community were surprised about this bill. Okay, I've been on this council 9 years. I'm not a radical. I'm not out of control. Okay, these issues are very serious for our island. These changes happened. We didn't plan them. They happened to us. Okay, we have to get control of this. This bill is a beginning. Please, I implore everyone in this community, stay engaged in this issue. This is the tip of the iceberg. Thank you.
Who wants to speak next? Mr.
I can go
Rosa?
next. Well, I think it's no secret my position on the bill from day one. I guess my question really to everyone is, what is our objective here? Really, what is our objective what is the job of this council? Mr. Hoosier said it best. Our job is to pass laws, but our job is to pass good laws. Laws that are thought out, laws that are legal, laws that reach a valid goal. This bill, in its form today, doesn't provide that. I mean, it provides very little, very, very little. But for me, and I understand that there's 8 attorneys or however many attorneys out here that said they would represent us and that they're right. And, you know, I look at it as, you know, our county attorney is the county's attorney. Much like our prosecutor is the county's prosecuting attorney. And if I was to ask you, how would you feel if there were police officers that wanted to do a search warrant on your house? 2 officers wanted to do a search warrant on your house because they just didn't like you, or didn't want like you did. And they went to the county prosecutor, and the county prosecutor said, you don't have enough. You don't have enough probable cause to get this warrant. But these 2 officers were determined. So they went out and found attorneys in the audience, in the community that said, you know what, you actually have. Go ahead with your warrant because we believe you have. You think that's appropriate? That's not appropriate. That's why we have a county prosecutor, we have a county attorney. Now, we will see whether or not the county attorney is right or wrong. I mean, but when the Department of Agriculture was sitting right here a few months ago, embarrassing themselves, embarrassing the governor, embarrassing everyone, it was then I realized that we had to do something here on the county. We had to do something, and not in a bill that's going to be passed a year from now or take effect 9 months from now, but we had to do something today because for me the results were important. Not the fact that we could put a notch in our back or a feather in our cap saying we passed 2491, but we'll wait 9 months before we do anything. Councilmember Kagawa and I got on a plane, went to the governor, and he'll tell you, I cannot repeat what I told the governor because there's women and children in here. And I said, you know, it's embarrassing. Your Department of Agriculture was an embarrassment to you and to the state. They have not done their job, and you need to do something about it. And he made commitments to myself, and I know you guys don't trust the state. I have a problem with that too. But I know Mr. Hoosier has criticized the Good Neighbor program, but what has Bill 2491 done in 3 months? Besides divide this community, what has 2491 done? We are not divided. I see the yellow tape. Please, we can debate the fact. I can tell you, I mean, it has divided. You've heard it from many people up on this stand saying that. You know, and the little visit that, and I'm not taking credit for this, I'm just saying this is what happened. The little visit we had with the governor and his staff and the subsequent meetings with the legislature and the mayor, at least we have something today. Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask that anyone that cannot hold their comment.
I'll have them removed.
Thank you. This is a start. This is much more than you'll get with 2491, I can tell you that, for 9 months. Now, I can tell you, as I read this, the 100-foot buffer, that's not enough around schools. That's not enough. But we got a starting point here. One that's not going to be challenged in court, and that we can at least move forward on getting exactly what the community feels. Is that 5?
5.
I believe that's the step in the right direction. I believe that, you know, we're starting to see some results. And I ask that the community join in on that effort. The community people are stakeholders, and we need to have a say in that. You know, I've heard many people say, you know, you guys got to follow your heart, follow your heart. Yeah, I follow my heart. I mean, people make it seem like I don't love kids. I want to see sick kids. You know, my son was born with a heart defect. My son was medevac to Kapiolani. My son stayed in pediatric ICU. He doesn't live near any kind of farming operation, but I know what it's like. My daughter was born with scoliosis, had back surgery, ripped her back open. Now she's got rods with a fused spine. I know exactly what these are. But to sit there and say that if you don't support this, you support the poisoning of our kids, I think it's very unfair. And I've kept quiet, but you know, to be honest, those kinds of the things, it's incredible to hear. Like, I don't believe people would think that. Most of you don't even know who I am and what I've done in my life, and to say that, it's kind of disturbing. There's a lot of issues surrounding this bill. Legal issues, emotional issues. I mean, yeah, I have the task of doing what's right for the entire county, protecting the county and its people, obviously. Now, the efforts that I am taking with the state, I guess to some of you, that's not an effort to protect our kids. That's not an effort to protect our families. And I don't understand that. I mean, I have made bets with several of you for lunch that we will get results, better results, going the direction I believe is the right way than 2491 will ever do. Simply because I choose to take the path of least resistance. The path that's not going to end us in court. Whether or not Ms. Tico, and I appreciate the offer, represents us in court, it still goes to court. Still goes to court, which ties it up, as opposed to working with the state, working with the communities that are affected, and coming up with some real-world solutions. And, you know, Bernard was elected based on that principle, that he wanted to work with everybody and work together, finding solutions. And, you know, I think Mr. Bynum said he disagrees with the mayor quite often, probably not as much as me. So this obviously is not a decision because of my loyalty to the mayor. It obviously is not any loyalty to the seed companies, because I believe that they need to take accountability, responsibility as well. But it has to be done in a manner that's legal. In a manner that's legal. You know, we have a study, a resolution to do our study, our environmental study. And I made a comment at that meeting. This council should do an investigation, not a study. We should be investigating the effects of what's going on. We should be able to determine whether or not the examples given here are a direct result of pesticide. Because we don't know. We don't know. And the only way we'll find out is by doing an investigation. Most of the time when we pass laws, it's because we have had the data that we can pass the legislation. In this case, we're putting a cart before the horse. And I agree, it's better to err on the side of safety. And of course, I agree with that. But in this case, there is an alternate path that can reap results quicker than a 9-month waiting period. You know, home rule is vital. And, you know, I will say one of the attorneys that had agreed or disagreed actually with our county attorney's opinion, when I met with him, had not even read Chapter 149A, but was quick to provide a legal analysis. Never read the state law that governs pesticide use in Hawaii. So, I mean, I have done my due diligence, and I look for a very aggressive working arrangement with the state, and I mean, all I can do is commit to that. Work with the State Department of Agriculture as well as the Department of Health. The Department of Health is not part of this Good Neighbor program, and I'm disappointed with that, because I think a lot of the issues that were brought up here today should be Department of Health issues. When you start seeing trends of possible health issues, that should be a Health Department issue, not a Department of Ag issue. And that is where I believe we're falling short as well. But I continue to work with the state to get the Department of Health involved. We do not have the capacity in this county to create a Department of Ag or a Department of Health. I mean, we need to be real as well. And it's very simple to say, yeah, we just need one employee. Only one employee can do all of this. That's simply not true. And that's the tough part of this job, because I got to be objective, and hearing all that testimony today breaks my heart. And but I got to do what I believe is right. And I believe that we got to be real when we make these laws. We got to be real, and we got to be, we got to be realistic, and to make sure that we can actually, that the law will mean something. So obviously, I will be not be supporting the motion, and I do appreciate everyone coming and testifying, but again, for those reasons, I will not be supporting. Thank you.
Councilmember Yukimura, you have the floor.
Thank you. You know, this journey on Bill 2491 has been about learning to love the environment and the land, learning to love each other, and learning how to respect and tolerate opinions and positions other than our own. So I wanted to make a few preliminary remarks about how we will respond to whatever happens today. When council members attend sporting events, we're sometimes given a chance to say a few words, and I've often said that sports are great because our kids learn how to win and how to lose. So I want to ask that those of us here show our young people how to win and how to lose today. No matter how the vote goes, no matter what outcome, whether we are on the winning or losing side, however we define that, let us please conduct ourselves with grace, humility, dignity, and aloha. Now I want to say a few comments about my vote and about the bill. Whether we are for or against Bill 2491, I feel it is important to go to court. Industry and the county attorney say that the bill is illegal. Pro 2491 and other attorneys say the bill is legal, but nobody really knows until the court speaks. If we don't override the mayor's veto, we won't have a bill to take to court. From the start, I supported the intention of Bill 2491 to protect health and the environment, and I have strived to hone the bill to a few simple core provisions, because I think Councilmember Raposo's points about making clear and meaningful law is very important. I've tried to do this in a way that will, so that we get protection without affecting jobs unnecessarily, and to try to make the bill legally defensible. Bill 2491 as amended, this draft 2, is not the original bill. It will not affect jobs. It is a compromise and a basic minimum. It creates a good starting point of disclosure and protection, which is what the people of Kauai more than deserve. It is not perfect, but it is a good beginning, and that's why I will be voting to override the mayor's veto. I want to thank Council Members Hooser and Bynum for introducing this bill. And I want to thank the chair and my fellow council members who have supported the work to really create a good bill. Don't jump to conclusions yet. We don't know what the conclusion will be here. I want to thank our staff, who has been totally incredible in what they have had to deal with and help us. And most of all, I want to thank you, the people of Kauai, who have been so awesome. So many of you who have spent so much of your life for these last 4 months to work on the bill, whatever side you were on. And especially I want to thank the young people who have stepped forward, who give me so much hope for the future. And I want you to know that I was once young, and I saw many defeats. I saw many times when we failed. We tried and we failed. And it's not over when that happens. And you know, this past Sunday, I accompanied my dad to the veterans ceremony on the USS Missouri, where he and other veterans were honored. And when you hear the story of what they went through, and yet they never quit. they never quit. That's what we have to remember, and we have to continue, whatever the outcome, because if we override the veto, there's still going to be work to do. And if we don't, there's still going to be work to do. And we are going to win in the long run. So I also want to thank the people who usually remain silent, and we saw so many people today and throughout this process who usually stay home and either grumble or feel they don't have anything to say, who step forward to speak for their lives and for other people's lives and for this island. It was inspiring, and it's how democracy works at the best. So this bill, no matter what, has brought us forward in so many ways. And I just thank you all for your participation and for the way you will continue on this journey.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry.
I want to start out by thanking all of you for participating in this process. It is a very humbling experience to know that so much of you care about our government, our future, our health, our environment. You know, I've always been against the bill from day one. It has been no secret. I have lobbied my other colleagues to work on the state with myself and Mr. Raposo to achieve the same goals at no cost to the county. They have the expertise, but we question whether they have the will at times. You know, I was very encouraged when I saw this announcement. You know, they're proposing to add 10 additional inspector and pesticide education positions. And I'm just hoping that, you know, we get at least 2 or 3 in addition to the 1 that we now have. Now that is an improvement. And, you know, anything more than a 1 is an improvement. And, you know, so I am encouraged by that. Am I happy with what will come about it? You know, who knows? December 1st, we'll see what's in those voluntary disclosures by the seed companies. And, you know, I'm hoping that they'll disclose all the RUPs that they are using as the bill proposes. At the committee level, you know, I tried to keep the bill as is with no amendments. I felt like a strong bill like this should have been kept strong and be voted on. However, the bill got amended, and myself and Councilmember Raposo could not stop it. It was a 3-2 vote, so I supported it with a yes vote as a means of acceptance of defeat and a willingness to work together going forward. At the council meeting, that was a grueling process. I mean, people just amazing how they hung in there from the night before. We worked till 3 a.m. And, you know, we rushed through a lot of amendments. And I believe we should have taken our time. And now, look, where are we? Addressing a veto. You know, the mayor asked for a 1-month deferral. We got excited, and the deferral was shot down. But I remember the mayor saying, if you give me the 1 month, I will not veto the bill after that. And, you know, we did not take his advice, and, you know, he surprised me by vetoing. I just thought he was just going to support it. This long process has allowed me to talk story about the bill with a lot of people at the high school football games, Pop Warner games, senior softball games, Little League games, etc. The community is definitely split on this issue. There is no doubt for me that many more people that I talk to are against the bill because they believe that the state can and should be the ones to perform the oversight in this bill because it's their responsibility and they have the expertise. I spent hours, days discussing this issue with our Kauai State delegation in the legislature. They are working with the state and the governor. Representative Morikawa was here. She was a brave soul that came here in front of us, and she just asked us for some time. And I believe, I think she has a part in this also. When I decided to run for office last May, in May 2012, I ran because I had a lot of concerns about where our county was heading. It seemed like we were sure spending a lot of money, yet so little seemed to be improving. Instead of grumbling, I said, I'm going to try and do something about it. And that's why I ran. The hardest part for me was listening to the testimony of the parents today, Mr. Pa, just all of them, because it's just, it's tough. And, when my daughter was 1, we were living in Waimea Valley, the house that I built. She went through several seizures while we were in that house. What was the cause? I don't know. But on one occasion, we almost lost her. These situations talked about today were absolutely gut-wrenching, and something needs to be done. I don't believe this bill will prevent them from continuing. Council members have said they want it to go to court. Why? The county attorney has released the opinion, said our case is weak. And while it's tied up in court, how would a situation get better? I wish I did not have to cast a vote on either side, because truly, this is a tough decision. But I will follow my heart and my mind, and I will continue to work with the state, with Mr. Raposo, in getting some answers to those families that are suffering. I will not be supporting the override. Thank you.
Chair.
Hold on, everyone. If you're leaving the room during our business hours, you leave quietly.
You sure? Okay, before you go.
And you do not return. Okay, I'm holding my comments for last. Did you want to say something, Mr. Bynum?
Yeah.
Yes.
If I could speak for a second, please. As a maker of the motion and sponsor of the bill, I believe the rules allow me an additional time. That's what the rules allow, and I appreciate some consideration. I certainly respect all of my colleagues. As was mentioned last meeting, when the decision was made to deal with this without our 7th member, at that time I spoke that I was not happy with that or comfortable with that. And I believe that the charter of the County of Kauai is very clear that these decisions are made by 7 members, and it specifies 5. but the charter calls for 7. And a decision of this magnitude, I believe, warrants the time it takes to make a decision properly. And so I would like the body to consider either a recess until next week, Monday or Tuesday, or we can look at the calendar. I think we have enough time. And that recess will allow us a couple of things. The recess will allow us to look into consideration of our 7th member, but also I think in light of what Councilmember Raposo and Councilmember Kagawa has said, it would allow us to talk to the governor and allow us to talk to the Department of Agriculture to see how serious they are about these issues. And so we can take the time that we need to talk to those decision makers and to evaluate the 7th member, and then come back and make a decision based upon the information that we really need to make a clear decision. And if you wanted a brief recess to look at the calendar with staff, we can look at the calendar. I believe there is enough time. I understand there's some travel considerations, but a recess would allow us to do that without giving excessive notice, or we could do a deferral. But I wanted to ask the chair and the body to consider those thoughts. Thank you.
Mr. Bynum, did you want to speak?
Sure. I made my position clear on this when it came up before. I believe that 7 members should make this decision. I said that previously. I concur with Councilmember Hooser that and this is a desperation move. I'm a straight talker. But this is fundamentally so important for the county. And I don't want to have an argument about whether it should be 7 members or not. I think we all know that. And so I would concur with a recess. It's legal within our laws, or a deferral, because I've said since the beginning, I think 7 members, and I think that's the intent of the charter, should make this decision.
Okay. Mr. Raposo?
Mr. Chair, we had this discussion last week. The body decided that we were going to do it with 6 people. And, I mean, I think it goes back to what Councilmember Yukimura said at the beginning. I mean, I don't want to call it winners and losers, but that's the democratic process, Mr. Chair. And I do not want to see this happening every time we're on the verge of a win or a loss of a vote. We're going to ask for a continuance or a deferral. I don't want to see the community strung out any longer and our staff any longer than we have to. We made a decision last week that we're going to do it with the 6 members that made it this far. You acknowledge that, Mr. Chair. You agreed with that.
I agreed for that, but I want to also say I agreed for that because I didn't think it was fair to put pressure on the selection.
Correct.
That was
that was my concern.
Okay.
But anyway, I just want to make that point that.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if a deferral is even possible, and I would have to check. Maybe you can take a recess.
I'm going to take a recess. I want the county attorney, I want the clerk, the deputy clerk, and Peter available to me. Okay? Mr. Kagawa, did you want to say anything before I go back to Mr. Bynum?
What I was gonna, just recommend that is if we do push it back, let's push it back after December 1st, because I'm really curious to see how good that disclosure.
We do not have a decision from the body after November 30th. The decision then goes for the council member to the mayor.
Just checking. Thank you.
Mr. Bynum.
I know these are extraordinary circumstances, but I need to say that I've studied this very closely, and this is the democracy. So we use the tools that democracy allows us. A recess in this instance is allowable. A deferral of this matter, it's very clear in our rules. If someone chooses to make a motion to defer, it supersedes any other motion. So this is all legal and appropriate in the democratic process, in my opinion. And I'm going to use whatever is legal and appropriate to do what I think is my duty. I just wanted to say that.
Point of inquiry?
Yes.
Chair, you are recommending a brief recess to look at the issues, the calendar, and so forth.
Yes. And I still reserve my 10 minutes.
Yes,
to
of
speak
course.
on the item.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, please, we need to keep decorum in the room. Okay, this is very important, And this is Kauai's style of doing it. So we're going to take a 10-minute recess, and the people that I named, I'd like to see in the executive chambers. Okay, first of all, members, I would like to have the floor to give you some housekeeping and procedural summaries. First and foremost, we do not have to defer this item. If we defer this item, we would have to start with public testimony all over. From a standpoint of going into a recess, we can, from a previous declaration from OIP, we could go into a recess that would allow us to go right into our business, because it's just an extension of this meeting. Now, along those lines, during the week, we have some particular issues. Tomorrow, we will be identifying the replacement candidate. And the way that will start, we will have some opportunity for an open session. We will go into the session and review the applicants. In the executive session, we will all have a chance to nominate candidates. Those candidates would then come out for public review and public vote, with all of us declaring our vote. After that ceremony, and checking with the county attorney as well as our legal staff, we could swear that candidate selected in as the 7th council member, okay? We still would go till Tuesday for the reorganization, and that would be the committee's assignments and so forth, and an appointment of a vice chair, okay? We cannot necessarily go later than that because we have council members traveling. So this would require us to recess this meeting and come back on Saturday, because on Friday we would have selected and sworn in the 7th council member. And that's the only dates that fit with the travel schedules, the declared holidays, and the 30-day, if we fail to reach a decision, it'll go to the mayor. So it really only looks like a motion to recess today's meeting, and it would only take 4 members for a recess to go to Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. Okay? So I'm sorry I took some time on that, but I wanted to make sure we understood what happens if a deferral, what happens with a recess, and those are the main differences. So, any questions of me now? Mr. Bynum?
Thank you for that outline. I'll just say that once you've had an opportunity to do your 10 minutes, I will make that motion.
Okay. Just want to make sure everybody understands it. So that that might end tonight's meeting by way of a recess. Okay. Any more questions or pieces? Go ahead, Mr. Kagawa.
If I can make a request, I have an appointment at 9 on Saturday, so if we can go maybe 11
Members?
a.m.
Recess till 11 would be till 11 on Saturday. And remember, we have to bring in our staff on overtime, so want to make sure we have enough staff for that coverage. Is there a staffing issue for Saturday? Okay, we have 2 of our analysts that will be traveling off island already planned with their families, so will be relatively short with staff. Okay? Now, I had my thoughts together about like 10 minutes, and now I got to change it a little bit. So, you know, I'm still going to say, and you can start the clock for me now, please, okay? You know, most of you know that by formal training, I'm an innkeeper. Hawaii has a very, very unique set of rules. Only Hawaii and Utah have rules that basically say the innkeeper can be personally responsible for not taking reasonable care. Reasonable care is, you know, you're spraying in a guest room, you give 36-hour notice to the guests, they can make other options, your employees are well informed. And that's, you know, kind of summed up real quick about reasonable care. And that's how I see this bill. I don't want to share any more than this piece about reasonable care and stewardship. That's how I see this bill. There are other parts that have been reached in discussion today that talks in terms of bigger and bigger things with this bill. But the reality is, I think there's where we might have more of a legal challenge. And I just want to say that. Now, I have a nephew who's a judge. I have a brother who worked with Charles Marsland as a prosecutor. I have cousins that worked for the city and county of Honolulu as attorneys. And yeah, I've talked to them, you know, over cocoa and other things. You know, they understand that reasonable care touches on that and what our stewardship is on this item. Also, when we talked about a legal test of the bill, they remind me that declaratory judgment, if we go to court, is something that you don't have to select a whole jury and so forth, that the judge can expedite that decision by himself without a jury. And so, unless these guys were spending too much surfing time and not studying the law when they became attorneys, I don't think they gave me bad information. So, you know, there is a way to expedite this decision. But, you know, to me, this bill, and I'm talking to the other members here because I want you to know, if you don't want to support the bill, but if you vote silent, it still affirms the motion that's on the table. So if you can't find yourself voting for the override, maybe you can just go silent with the majority. I just throw that out for that. But again, this bill is about modest protection and disclosure and reasonable care. And I didn't hear anything when I interviewed the companies that really impressed to me that this bill would create a large job loss. I didn't hear that. I heard it might be difficult for them to enforce and retrain staff, but it wasn't a job loser. You know, the state has many staffing problems. I mean, somebody talked about vector control earlier today. I think there's one vector control person covering 3 counties now. I know in the hotel business, we have one elevator inspector. In fact, the notice in the elevator says, if you want to see the permit, go to the office. So there are staffing issues. You know, I've been writing, this is all my correspondence to different people since July 5th. I have visited with Kokoban. I have gone to the governor with correspondence. I have talked with the EPA, with Joanne. You know, and we find ourselves in a situation where we now get this announcement that the legislature is going to pursue restaffing inspectors. But it still has to go to the legislature. I sent in a bill asking them to reinstate $550,000 for Kauai's inspectors. We heard yesterday that Soil and Water Conservation was going to lose another person from the Department of Health. So that's what I want to share with you folks, that we can't be everything to everybody, but we can set up reasonable standards that help us do what is exactly here, that says the counties under Section 46-15 have the power to enact ordinances that were deemed necessary to protect health, life, and property. That's pretty clear for me, and that's something that if we have to go to these lawyers that provided some pro bono help, could certainly stand on. Was that my 5 minutes or my 10 minutes? I have 3 more? Okay. So I want to say, in writing that bill, I sent that along with my August 22nd correspondence to the governor, and I said to the governor, I realize that during the physical crisis, your predecessor eliminated some positions needed to administer this law, and that the federal sequester has further impacted the state. However, we are dealing with a public risk and safety. I would ask that you reconsider appropriate staffing and do this immediately as it relates to regulating RFPs. So that's what this bill was about. I don't want any false statement to you folks. My correspondence is all about saying to the other political subdivisions, let's kokua each other, let's do what we're supposed to do within the framework of the rules and within the jurisdiction that we have. So, you know, good stewardship for me is what this bill is about. And the reason I have a difficult time supporting the new outline, you know, Joanne and I mean, we tracked at night coqui frogs in Kauai Valley because we couldn't get any money from the state as it relates to invasive species. This council, in both of our bills, for 3 years, we funded about $75,000 each year to support the Invasive Species Council. When it comes to preparing for our general plan, we wrote to them about participation from the Transportation Agency and helping us prepare for the general plan. And under my signature, and I've been chair now 4.5 years, they politely said to us, we can't send anybody. So everything that's in this correspondence from the mayor from the governor is still subject to legislative approval. So we also have to lobby our legislators as well. Now, in all fairness, and Mr. Bynum touched on this, you know, I'm a very good friend of the mayor. At least I think I am a very good friend of his. And he does not have all of the authority. Some of this authority is in the legislative branch. But he made his decision, and that was his decision, and he did it with some courage, I believe. But I personally, you know, reserve the right to politely disagree with him. I want to do the right thing for the right reason, for the right people on the island that, you know, my mo'opuna tracked their history to Wainiha Valley and to Hanalei. And I want to be a good steward for them. So please don't read into my comments that I'm going to overpromise, but I am going to support this bill. I'm not going to overpromise things that we can't do because we get preempted. But I do want to say that if we go to court through declaratory action, we would get a quick response. So that is my comments. I would like to make sure that we all show each other aloha as we leave this meeting today from a recess. Thank you. Mr. Biden, the floor.
I move to recess this meeting until Saturday, November 16th at 10 a.m., 11 a.m.
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Hoosier, and, okay. Any further discussion on
I
this?
just have a real quick discussion, and this is really a continuation, again, like I said, this will no doubtly now have an effect on the selection of the 7th member.
Yes.
Which I thought we had agreed, and Councilman Yukimura made that point as well, that we did not want to see that, because I think the selection of the council member, the 7th council member, is such an important decision that it shouldn't hinge on what that candidate or applicant feels on a specific bill. Obviously, that's what's going to happen, and I just want the public to understand that. And, it may work out for this case, but, again, I thought we had had an agreement last week, and I guess I was wrong. But just that now we run into that issue where, unfortunately, if someone is opposed to 2491, they won't get consideration for the 7th seat. And that is what I did not want to see. I will not be supporting the motion to recess.
Okay. And, I just want to say on that note, too, my comments were, I don't want a new council member that's only focused on this bill. Fact of the matter, our responsibilities are financial, our transportation, our housing, our shoreline setback. We need a well-rounded candidate. And I do want to say to you, perhaps I was naive, but I didn't think we wouldn't pass this today. So that is where we are. Joanne, you have the floor, and then Mr. Bynum.
Yeah, I think we all did not want the selection of the 7th member to turn on this bill. We could still conduct our selection without asking the question and just choosing the member based on general criteria, and then take a chance when it comes to the vote on this bill. But as I stated at the meeting where we decided to schedule this decision-making for today, I would like a second chance.
Any more discussion on this? All right, any more discussion on this? Go ahead, Mr. Bynum, I'm sorry.
Very briefly, I don't disagree with you, Mel, and we agreed the other day that it shouldn't be a litmus test. I have not asked any candidates what their position is. I won't. My decision is going to be based on that well-rounded criteria. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, I have a motion on the table to recess this meeting with a second until 11 o'clock on Saturday, and is that the 16th? Yeah, okay. And I would like to have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Bynum?
Aye.
Councilmember Hooser?
Aye.
Councilmember Kagawa?
No.
Councilmember Raposo? No. Councilmember Yukimura?
Aye.
Council Chair Fafaro?
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay, so we have 4 ayes, 2 nays, right? And then I want to remind everybody the statement that you need to leave this meeting with is in the council chambers on Saturday, the 16th at 11 o'clock. There'll be no more public testimony, but this session will recess until then. Thank you. We are adjourned. I thought I said it. One more time. Sorry, we're recessed. I used the wrong terminology. We're recessed till Saturday.